Everybody wants a job in the front line, but sometimes the front line needs help from the back line. Think about it. Who does all the preparation for a scientist in a laboratory? Who does the layout, the setting up, and conducts those super cool experiments in the lab? Right now, join me as I look at the somewhat of an unexplored world of the guy or girl behind the scenes. This is the lab technician. So, what exactly does a lab technician do? Now, they set up equipment, prepare and carry out experiments in the laboratory. They take measurements and report on their results from these experiments. They record these results and will often need to interpret these results with colleagues or seniors. They may work in industry, higher education institutions, or work for research organizations. So, put on your lab coats and let's go check out the interesting journey to see exactly what this career is all about.
Laboratory technicians are responsible for laboratory-based tasks, which include sampling, testing, measuring, recording, and analyzing results in biological, chemical, physical, and life sciences. The actual nature of the work will depend upon the organization. For example, within the water industry, the work will mainly focus on the collection and analysis of water samples. Mathematics, chemistry, and biology are very important. A successful lab technician must enjoy and excel in problem solving, be incredibly detail-oriented, possess good eyesight, and exceptional hand-eye coordination. They must also possess computer skills, as much of the equipment they will be using is automated. Lab technicians are primarily employed by hospitals. Additionally, private medical offices, diagnostic laboratories, and academic facilities also employ lab technicians. A candidate seeking this type of employment can apply directly to the facility or institution for which they would like to work.
What happens, a lab technician, like you study at school, would have to understand the scientific principle of an instrument, and from there use that instrument to do an analysis of whatever parameter. A parameter, for example, is anything that you want to check. Let's say in water you want to check how much calcium is there, what is your pH of water. You firstly have to understand the principle of a pH. You have to understand the instrument that you'll be using, because what is important in the scientific field is accuracy and reliability of your information.
The subject is it right? Biology, physics.
The subjects already they're very relevant to the science industry. For example, maths, it will help you to deal with your calculations. When you are a scientist, you deal with chemicals. You need to know the chemical reaction of the chemical that you'll be working with. That's why you're studying chemistry. If you are supposed to deal with a bacteria, you need to know how it behaves, what are the risks if it's maybe a dangerous bacteria. So that's why you're studying biology. Maths, you need to know your additions, your calculation, multiplication, division. That is also relevant when in science, because you need to apply those calculations when generating the information that will be required for people to make an informed decision.
And so, only lab technician. One thing
with science field, it's not a static industry. You always have to learn. So for me, it will be more academic. If you are a lab technician, you can move from being a lab technician to be a research scientist, move from being a research scientist and start your own business and be a researcher and be a consultant. There's so many things that you can do. You can do process re-engineering. There's more to science than lab technicians. Lab technicians, they would earn around plus minus 20,000, which means it's a take home. After everything has been deducted, you might take home plus minus 20,000. But there are companies, it can even be beyond that, depending on the job requirements.
Now, if being a lab technician is something that you are thinking about, then you're probably also thinking about what kind of salary the lab technician earns. Well, the average annual income is between 77,000 rands and 370,000 rands a year, which can translate to between 6,400 rands and 30,800 rands per month. It's not too bad, I think. Also, it is very important ukukhumbula ukuthi technicians often get on-the-job training, and that requires a good appetite for learning as well as the ability and agility to adopt new skills on a regular basis. A word of caution though, technicians often handle hazardous substances. One must be super precise and careful around the lab. This means that they must have full knowledge of and abide strictly to the safety procedures. There are many opportunities for work as a lab technician. In fact, the scope is wide open across various industries in our country. Ama opportunities afana nokuthi usebenzele ama government bodies, research institutions, hospitals, engineering and manufacturing firms, and processing industries. Manje, promotion in this industry all depends on qualifications. The world of a lab technician definitely is an interesting and vast one. Let's see how a lab technician spends most of their day.
This is just one of the units. Now, I brought you here to show you where the samples are collected from. We are not collecting the samples, the lab technicians. The samples are collected by the samplers. Okay, guys, this is where all begins. The samplers are coming to collect the sample right here in the process. So my job as a senior lab technician and the job of the technician will start inside the lab when the sample comes in. So let's go to the lab and then I start from where you find me. This lab is a microbiological lab, and here there is a microbiologist who is a lab technician who is going to do all microbiological monitoring. They do investigation on microbiology related issues. And when you look at the corner there, you see a microscope. There they do observation of all things that whatever they cannot see with their naked eyes.
So this process, what is it?
Okay, this process is called membrane filtration. And here from this, we are going to use a membrane like this one. We call this a Petri film. And then you're going to peel it off. But you are not touching it with your hands, I'm just showing you now. Then you put it inside this here, and the whole thing is done when they right here. Then you cover it, then you pour in the sample there, 100 milliliter of sample, then you open it here. When you open it, then it will suck the water out. All your microorganisms that were in the water, they will be retained in this. And then from there you remove it later on. You see? Then you put it inside of one of these. This is a selective media for fecal coliform. Now you put it in here, then you incubate it inside there at 44 degrees for 24 hours. Now when you come after 24 hours, if the sample is having fecal coliform, you're going to find some blue colony that have developed here. I've got one that is already having them. I will show you now. Okay guys, I've got two results here for you. Now when you look at this one, you see there are blue colonies inside there, blue spots. And these blue spots are indicating that this water is having germs. And this one, when you look, it doesn't have anything. So this water is not supposed to be taken by people. Human beings must not drink of this water because it can make them severely sick. Now that's how we analyze the water. You can see this one is having germ, this one is not having germ. But this is not all that we are interested in. We look at the water if it's having germs, but we also look at the chemistry of the water. And voila, you can see the amount of ammonia inside. Can you read here? 1.09 milligram per liter nitrogen content. So that is it. Now, while this one is doing that, you can see the color is becoming green. So it shows that green you see there is the amount of ammonia that we have discovered here. This one you don't need to do anything else. All the standardization have already taken place. Now, just like we did there, When you get an amount like this, you inform the production people, you inform the plant operators, the plant managers, they must know about this. So the job of a lab technician is to monitor the process. The job of the lab technician is to see if the process is complying to the permit or to the requirements. You understand? Now, if you are interested in this, you're going to be saving the life of many people out there.
Now, to qualify to study towards becoming a lab technician requires that you take mathematics, physical sciences and English. Manje, in mathematics izokusiza when you are doing the scientific calculations and understanding the quantities of the different chemicals that you may work with. Physical sciences yona izokusiza ngokuthi uzwisise ama-makeups and the composition of the substances that are used in the laboratory. And lastly, you will need to have a good command of the English language, as it is the language used to communicate in the science world. Now, to help you wear those lab technician coats, you can further your studies after matric with the Health Profession Council of South Africa and with Path Care. There are various other opportunities for you to study at various technicons or universities where you can get a Bachelor's of Science or a BTech or a diploma. So, how do you know if you are the right person to be a lab technician? Well, as a laboratory technician, you must be precise in setting up equipment for an experiment and be accurate in the recording of the test results. Often, a lab technician will spend days researching and testing and retesting experiments, so it is critical to be patient. Good teamwork skills are often very important because technicians work closely with other scientists and a range of other individuals in a team. A lab technician's work environment is predominantly in a laboratory. However, you will be from time to time required to collect samples from various sources like rivers, forests or hospitals and factories. The typical lab technician also works in a sanitized environment where health and safety regulations always need to be adhered to because contamination of specimens is always a possibility. This is a super cool job because a lab technician carries out the work that allows a scientist to perform the more complex experiments and concentrate on the difficult analytical processes in the lab. So it is the contribution of the lab technician that makes the entire process possible and therefore creates job satisfaction.